no major differences. These are just really performance artifacts. So far, though, there's been no successful POVs, no one's lost security, and everyone's availability is about the same. So at the beginning of round 2, we've seen some teams being live, and now we're seeing more POVs, so this is good. Oh, and we see a couple of successful ones.
Oh, check this out. Let's break it down here. We see Rubius scoring on 3 different teams. So I want to talk about what we're looking at here. Each one of these hex tiles represents one challenge in the game. And the hex tile has so much information built into it. Obviously, we see right here, when someone scores, it lights up with a giant circle of the team that scored against them.
So, team that owned them.
Team that owned them, yeah. So Rubius owned them. We see that lighting up here. We also have one down here, Crispy getting a score. So we see that. We can also look at the hex tiles and look at these gears here. These gears represent that the team has submitted a replacement and they're down for that round. The team has to be down for one round when they submit a replacement. That's a penalty to make sure they don't keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, because if you could do nothing but replace a binary over and over and over, it defeats the point of consensus evaluation.
Yeah, it's not a practical real-world technique, but it certainly would have allowed them to game this competition. The other thing that we see on the hex tiles is that once a team has been scored against, they've lost that security, their white border goes away. So on the ones that haven't been scored, you see there's a white border, but if someone has owned you, then you lose your white border, indicating you've lost some security.
And we also see this sort of pie chart. So at the very end, we know who Rubius has been successful on. And in this case, it's everyone. Every other team was vulnerable, so all 6 of those slices are filled in.
They're against Thermal Controller 2.
And speaking of score, we've also got the scores tabulated up at the end of the round. So we have, from left to right, we have the availability, the security, and the evaluation. So availability means how performant were you? Were you too slow? Because if you can replace something and make it secure, but it's 10 times slower, nobody's going to use it. So you have to keep it fast. You can't use too much memory. And you have to retain the original functionality. So if you break it and just return 0, well, you're secure, but again, not very useful. The security is pretty straightforward. Did anyone score a POV against you? If they did, you lose security. If they didn't, you're still secure. An evaluation, of course, is whether you proved a flaw in somebody else. If you're able to exploit them, then your evaluation score goes up. Otherwise, it stays sort of at the default.
So it's pretty similar to a traditional attack defense, CTF game, right? The one thing that's different here with CGC is that availability score does include the performance.
That is different and is a bit unusual, as measuring the performance characteristics is sort of a new requirement. All those points get added per service at the end of the round, and then that gets added into the round score. And so you see at the end of the round, we can look at the relative differences, and we can see Megafish really took a hit from that patching all their services being down, the availability being down. But Rubius, on the other hand, did a great job with their POVs.
Yeah, so Rubius was written by Deep Red. Deep Red's a team formed from engineers at Raytheon.
They've got a long history in CTF. A number of their former members had been CTF players, although the majority of the team this time, I think, was more of their developers. That they are well known in the security space and have certainly come out guns firing in this one by successfully proving a vulnerability against all of their competitors. And again, within 5 minutes, this challenge was deployed in round 1. So because this is Thermal Controller V2, this particular challenge, was deployed in round 1. That means within that same round, they found the flaw, they created the proof of vulnerability, and by round 2, they're getting those points against their competitors.
That is a really nice, strong start for Rubius.
Quick turnaround and much faster than a human could do.